Hello and welcome to Khumbza Africa Amplified, a podcast reverberating across Africa and beyond. It is a pleasure to have you on this platform. In this special episode, I'm joined by a world-renowned pioneer, a visionary leader, Dr. Mo Ibrahim. He is my special guest on this episode as we talk about his incredible journey and his incredible impact on the African continent. I hope you enjoyed the conversation because this is a conversation for the history books. You don't want to miss it. If you like the content of this podcast, remember to subscribe, like, and share. Welcome. All right, greetings, Dr. Ibrahim, and welcome to Khumbza Africa Amplified.
Thank you, Khumbza. Thank you for having me.
Let's begin with your early years, Dr. Ibrahim. You were born in Sudan and received your foundational education there before pursuing engineering, which later paved the way for your journey in business. How would you describe that phase, that period of your life, Dr. Ibrahim, and how it shaped the person that you are today?
Well, I'm Sudanese. I come from the Nubian part of Sudan. Sudan is a very diverse country, and the Nubians live across the border between Egypt and Sudan, and it's a very, very old race, and it has its own values, which actually shared with many other African ethnic groups. Is that of the intimate society, the extended family concept. You don't have dinner and leave your your neighbor hungry or going to bed without dinner. But it's shameful. A father dies, you need to look after the children and the mother, and there is this intimate personal relation which provide a cushion of a social security kind of net, informal one, but it's strong part of the culture. And I think that was very important in my early years to see and how people look after each other. We had a proverb, Nubian, which translates as the shroud has no pocket. The shroud is that piece of white cloth where we wrap a dead person before burying them. And we say the shroud has no pocket. So you cannot, when you're not going to take your wallet with you or your Amex or MasterCard with you. And I think that was a beautiful proverb. The shroud has no pocket. And that was something really interesting to learn. I received my education in Egypt because my father moved his working there in Alexandria, and I graduated in University of Alexandria as an engineer, electronic engineer. I went back to Khartoum and I started to work at the telecom organization, and I went to UK, to Netherlands, Geneva, and various courses, etc. And then I came to UK to study for my master's and PhD, specialized in mobile communication, and then I was supposed to be an academic. I continued at the University of Birmingham after my PhD as a senior research fellow. And my work was mainly in the area of mobile communications, and that before cellular technology was introduced. but my work was part of that development anyway. So when British Telecom got a license to introduce the first cellular network or mobile network in UK, they asked me to join them as technical director to design the first UK mobile network. And it was such a tempting opportunity. Of course, moving from academia now to the industry was a big move, but engineers love to play with trend sets, so that was a huge trend set to play with. And I spent a few years in BT, and then I started my own company, which is MSI consultancy. Very quickly it grew to be probably the largest independent technology house in Europe. We had about 900 engineers all over the place. We offices in 16 countries worldwide. We designed and helped build probably half the GSM networks in Europe. And then from that we went on to do Africa actually, because Africa had nothing at the time.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted to go and invest there, and that became clear. Nobody wanted to take the risk. Africa, unfortunately, has a very bad reputation, and sometimes undeservedly so. And we realized that if you need to build things in Africa, Africans have to go and do it. We are not afraid of Africa, so that's how I went to Africa, start to build mobile networks.
And what a journey it has been, Dr. Ibrahim, because you have made such a big impact here on the African continent, isn't it? But despite your initial skepticism toward business people, you went on to make such a big impact as an entrepreneur. 1998, Dr. Ibrahim, was a year that you founded Celtel, which became a powerhouse mobile network operator across the African continent. Take me through what it took for you to build Celtel and the biggest challenges that you encountered, Dr. Ibrahim.
Yeah, we had a number of really major hurdles. Some are African and some really from outside Africa. Some within, some without. Within Africa, the liberalization process was just starting. Typically, actually like the rest of the world, we had a government department called the Ministry of Telecom, and it ran the fixed lines, and that's gone on for almost 100 years. And then the idea of competition and opening the market was totally new. It started in Europe a few years before that, well, US, and then Europe a few years before that. And then African countries start to think about using that example, because to think of it is no-brainer, because you issue a license to an operator and they come and build the network for you. You don't pay any money, and you end up with a big network, and you start charging taxes and VAT and whatever, and you also charge license fees. So it's a good income for the country, and then a service provided, which costs the government nothing. And it's no-brainer really. But the problem, of course, is in execution. Government is used to run everything, and suddenly this independent company doing an important sector like telecommunication, they see you like as a foreigners, as a threat to the order, and how people used to think. So government has to appoint a regulator to regulate the market. The regulator usually comes from the Ministry of Telecom, who would have been previously chief executive or number 2 or 3 in the Ministry of Telecom. And that's his loyalty, his pension. And also, he's not been trained to be a regulator.
Yeah.
It's needs to understand. So we had a big problem with dealing with regulators because he deal with you as a kind of an enemy when you're supposed to be like a jury or judge, to ensure fair play in the market.
Yeah.
So that was one of the problems. But the major problem actually was the lack of infrastructure. Let me explain this.
Yeah.
We designed and built networks in Europe. And that was really a simple process. Once, of course, I know the know-how and the technical aspects of it, but to execute is straightforward because in all developed countries, you have the infrastructure, the telecom infrastructure in place. There are all these pipes, the microwave, the cables, the switches, everything in place.
Yeah.
And all what you need to do is to put on top of that the mobility layer. That's all. And I just put my base stations, and then I phone the incumbent, British Telecom or Deutsche Telekom or France Telecom, and I say, within a week, I want a connection between these switches, between these, and by law, they have to do it.
Yeah.
Within a week. Now, in Africa, we don't have that. There's no infrastructure for telecom. So I have to build the infrastructure which is supposed to be there before you for the fixed network, which is not there. So we have to put our own microwave, we have to put our own cables, etc. Now, trying to do that when you don't have usually good roads. And look, we work in sub-Saharan Africa, and there's no power. To cover the country, I have to put my base stations everywhere. Now, there's no power. Actually, even now, half African population have no power.
Yeah.
Power.
It's a big problem.
Poverty in Africa is serious. We talk about poverty, we think of food, but also need to think about infrastructure and electricity, which is a very important for any development, for anything to do. So what we have to do is to have generators, and we have to have batteries and backups, but all these are in remote areas, and every morning we need to ensure that somebody goes to each one and fill up, the fuel and check the batteries, and it's just a nightmare. And so this is a problem of building. I mean, to take our equipment to hills, villages, or somewhere. Sometimes there's no roads, there's no railways, there's no. We have to use mules, donkeys, tractors, helicopters, whatever, in order to move things. So this was the logistics was a major problem, really, to build a network. It's much more expensive and much more difficult. That was a real challenge for us to do. That is the problems we encountered within Africa. Without Africa, elsewhere, we had also problems because typically any telecom company will raise its own funds and then will borrow from the banks. And typically they borrow 50% of their capital in order to. So if I build something which costs $100 million, I raise $50 million, I go to the bank, they give me $50 million, I build. The market was shut for Africa. They will not lend us any money. We have to build everything through equity. And my CFO had to spend all his life just doing rounds of finance one after another. In 7 years, the life of the company, we had 6 or 7 rounds of finance.
Yeah.
And we have to put our hand, give all our money, put it on the table, because banks will not deal with us. That is a problem. The problem is easing now because it's proved that Africa can be a good destination for investments, and especially in telecom. I mean, it's not a problem now to fund telecom projects because it's shown it is a great success.
Before we talk about financing Africa, Dr. Ibrahim, you were talking about some logistical challenges that you encountered. I can imagine because mobile penetration at the time was still below 15% at the time, and the idea of Africa rising was only beginning to take shape. And it must have been a daunting task for you to take Celtel to the level that you did under such circumstances. But why did you sell Celtel in 2005?
Right. The intention initially was not to sell. What we wanted to do is to list the company, because listing the company, and we were aiming to list at London Stock Exchange. Because of the value of the company, we would have been able to join the top 100 index. And that will enable us to raise funds very cheaply, because pension funds and are required to really invest in this, the pool of money available for investment in the top 100 index is quite decent, and you are able to get then loans at a cheap price once you're listed there. And that would have been great for us. But we started the process. I remember we hired Goldman Sachs and we hired Citibank, joint agents, and they were running the IPO process for us. Invited, we got about 6 applications, 6 requests to buy the company.
Yeah.
And so I had to form 2 committees from the board, one to deal with the IPO, one to look at the people willing to offering to buy the company, and then they report to the board, see what we shall do. And this was like a competition between the 6 to see who will make the best offer for the company. And meanwhile, of course, the indicative prices coming from the banks was increasing with time, because the first time those bankers ever tried to float an African company in London Stock Exchange haven't done that before, and they have no idea what is the African market. So every time they go to a country, wow, it's great. Then they give us, the share price initially said, it will be $24. No, actually it can be $30. Then go to another country and they can, no, this is going well. It should be $35. It should be $40 a share. So they keep, and so we sitting there looking at the 2 processes going in. At the end, there was a premium from the people who want to buy the company, quite considerable premium. And in the board, I said, I'll be neutral here. Let us ask the board member shareholders what they want. And because a number of investors in the company could see a huge profit coming their way, and they wanted to exit then, because they all got fantastic bonuses now, and that's the role of private equity in a way. They all prefer that let's take the much better offer of, it's 20%, 30% higher than the IPO potential price. And so I said, fine, if that's what we want to do, we'll do that. By then also I was ready now to start the foundation. So I had another project in mind. So it was a transition for me then from business to more active civil role. So that's why I said, okay, I don't mind. If you want to continue, continue. If not, I'll go and start my project. And that's what happened.
We're going to talk about your project in just a moment, the formation of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation way back. But as you say, mobile connectivity, Dr. Ibrahim, brought job opportunities here on the African continent for young people and boosted continental integration, isn't it? Even though continental integration is still a work in progress, but some governments are struggling to translate economic growth into sustainable economic opportunities for their citizens. Dr. Ibrahim, why do you think that gap still persists?
A number of reasons.
Yeah.
Again, some some are self-inflicted and some inflicted on us by others. Let me start with the self-inflicted wounds, actually. Governance in Africa is in trouble, frankly. And let us agree from the outset what we mean by the word governance. Governance is about the delivery of this basket of goods which only governments can supply to people, from rule of law. And rule of law is also the judiciary, the access to justice, etc. Investment in the future of the country, infrastructure, development, who can provide the train services or arrange it to be provided, roads, clean water, power. Power is so essential. Who's supposed to do that in the country? It's the government. Either they do it or invite companies to do it, but just get it done, whatever way you want to do it. Then the issue of education. Education is very important. This is the workforce of tomorrow. As receiving proper education is our education system preparing people for employment, gainful employment, and what sort of economy. That's something important. Of course, health. You need healthy people. What is happening for the healthy people. Then there's softer issues, which is human rights and gender issues, and of course there is transparency, corruption. So this is a basket of good, is what we call good governance. Unfortunately, Africa is not doing very well in that area. We have progressed. I mean, we started to gather the data from 2000 to till now.
Yeah.
And we had published our first index to 2007, I think. So we measure all these things because they are measurable. It can be measured. So let's measure things. So we talk data. We are not talking poetry. We are not talking, we need to talk data. And we need to learn that our policies should always be based on data. The truth is important. Let's build on data. And what happened? I mean, for 10 years, Africa moved forward. 2000 to 2005, 2010, 2012, 14, we're really moving forward. Governance was improving. Our economy is improving. Democracy was improving. Things were moving forward. And then things started to stagnate in the last 10 years. And then in the last 5 years, it started to decline. Look around you today in Africa. And first, peace. Do we have peace in Africa? How many armed conflicts we have today in Africa? Everywhere.
Sudan is a case in point.
Sudan,
Yeah,
Somalia,
yeah,
Ethiopia, Mozambique, you have all the Sahel countries, yeah, all the way down to Cameroon. We have we never had so many conflicts in our history. If we are destroying the little we have, what development are we talking about? How can you improve people's life if you are destroying infrastructure, destroying city, killing each other? And who's going to invest in a country which war is raging?
No one.
And so that's an obvious something in front of us. We need peace. Why are we going through all this? That's something we have to stop. Then look at how many military coups we had. This is the highest number of coups we had since the 60s and the 70s. After independence, in the first 2 decades, we had 89 military coups. Military coup every 3 months. What is that? Then things start to improve. Now they're getting back to the old habits. And then outside Africa also, we see that the culture or the concept, I think it's fashionable actually, of having those strong men all over the place. You look around you, a lot of strong people over the place, everywhere. Even the United States, it have now a strong man. Everybody have a strong man now. Russia has a strong man now. China has a strong man. Turkey has a strong man. All those guys have a strong man in a way. And of course, our African guys say, oh, why? It's fashionable everywhere. I'm going to do the same. Yeah. It's lovely to be a dictator. It's nice. So they look all at each other. Yeah, why not? And so we end up with all. That is not a good model for us. It encourages all the nonsense in our countries because nobody outside is, blowing a whistle and saying, guys, what are you doing? Because they are doing the same. On the other side, also on the economic side, we still see the problem with financing Africa. It's very difficult to invest in Africa because you cannot borrow money at any reasonable rates. If you, in Africa, if the state want to raise money, sovereign, or business want to raise funds, you have to pay like 10% higher than your colleague in Europe who is doing the same business. There is a premium for Africa. And that is very difficult because how much return on your investment you need to achieve? You need to do like 20% IRR, 20% return every year. Difficult to have a business with that scale. So that's why there is lack of investment, because the cost of money is very high for Africa. That has to be dealt with.
But you meet with global leaders on numerous occasions, Dr. Ibrahim, including African leaders. For instance, in your recent governance weekend in Marrakech in Morocco, there were other heads of state there as well. What are they telling you from their perspective in terms of the contributing factors that are having an impact in terms of the decline that you are talking about?
Right. Actually, the head of state you refer to are mainly the people who won our prizes before, retired people. We don't invite actually sitting presidents because we want to have a frank discussion. The problem is you invite a senior official to come and talk. What's he going to say? They're speaking in public and in a forum, and they say the usual stuff that everything is fine and I'm doing all what I can and doing a wonderful job. That's not the conversation I want to have. We need a real conversation to say, hey guys,
Yeah.
we need to call out people, okay? So we avoid inviting president because we're all going to be this kind of typical speeches, which they deliver everywhere they go, and I don't think that is helpful. We can have private meetings with sitting presidents, because in private meetings then, which you say right is off the record, people can talk frankly. That can be useful.
Yeah.
But all this stuff in public is not useful. But all those wonderful people who came to our conference, we are all convinced, we all agree. This is our discussion. I hope people have time to go and watch this on YouTube to see what
Yeah.
we had some wonderful people speaking there, and I'm just expressing the general view coming out of all this discussion. So we learn from each other, and then we try to home in what is a diagnosis and in what to do about it.
Now, since 2020, Dr. Ibrahim, you are talking about the caliber of leadership that is required in order to turn things around here on the continent. But since 2020, there has not been a winner for the Ibrahim Prize for Achievement in African Leadership. Does that worry you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very sad. And of course, let me take you back.
Sure.
We had set a certain criteria, which I think was not too difficult. A winner must have come to power democratically. And then, after finishing the first or second term, left democratically without playing with the constitution games and all this stuff, and handing the power peacefully. You think that is not tough, is it? That that's how things should be. You come democratically and you leave democratically. We have a second issue, which is a condition, which is that during the period of your rule, you have moved the country forward. I think that's also reasonable. You have been elected to move the country forward, not to take it backward. Fine. So we have the data. We have exactly the data. How the economy was, how the economy now. What the state of the population was, what's the state now. How is the situation of the health service? What is the situation of health service now? Education, rights, etc. We have all this data. So it's for every, and this data are all in public. We put all the data out for free in our website. People can go and see it. So you think it's not difficult, but it is a statement, unfortunately, about the failures we're having in Africa that we find it difficult. And by the way, I'm not a member of the prize committee. I have no vote or voice or interference. This is an independent 7-member council which decide that, and they discuss it in secret, and they come to the foundation and tell them there is a winner or no winner, and just to accept that. But if that is the view, it is sad. But also some people say, look, if we try to apply the same criteria on the leaders of Europe, say, would you have got a winner this year? So,
yeah, it is.
Maybe it's difficult. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's difficult. I don't know. But there is a lack of leadership, and it's not only in Africa. It is a global problem. I think the whole world is going through some difficult times now.
And of course, talking about the laureates, the prize laureates, what comes to mind is the names that come to mind include that of Mozambique's former president, Joaquim Chissano. He was actually the first laureate. Festus Mogae, Botswana's president, he was the second recipient of the prize. But 5 million US dollars, Dr. Ibrahim. Jush, that's a good money for being an exemplary good leader. And it has stirred a big debate here on the continent about leadership and what defines a good leader. But critics are saying, why reward leaders who were doing what they were elected to do? How do you respond to those critics?
Yeah, it is a fair question, and it's a debate all the time. I tell you one reason is we came across actually is that if you are a decent leader, you came and did the job and you left. You did not steal any money. And you left. In most countries, maybe not in South Africa, but in most countries, there's no decent pension for the ex-president. You know? President Khumbza, after introducing democracy and losing power, he had no place to go. He had no house, could not afford. In the capital he ran for so many years because he was not corrupt. And at the end, an engineer of the mining company, I heard, said, look, the company gave me this house, I don't need it. Why do you come and stay here? Now, is that acceptable for a leader who shown some decency to end his life? And what we wanted to say here is that, listen, you don't need to worry about that. We're going to give you this amount of money, which we give it at, every year we give $500,000 for 10 years. So it's not at once.
Yeah.
But you now are free to continue your contribution to society. Don't think about how you're going to work or how you're going to pay for your rent or whatever. But everybody then starts something. So Festus Mogae started a foundation to deal with young girls, for example, teaching young education. President Breas of Cabo Verde, a wonderful man, he started an institute. In his view, was one of the problems of delivery of service is the training of the civil servants. We are not really providing, we are not paying attention to the people who deliver. The people who deliver are the civil servants. Are they educated enough to know what is to do? He created an institute where actually he not only to train the civil servants from Cabo Verde, but from all Portuguese-speaking countries, Angola, Mozambique, etc. And he created that institute, and he used the money to do that. So is that not wonderful? That first he had financial security, but most of this money is gone also to help him do what he needs to be done. President Sirleaf, she has a wonderful foundation now, and actually they had their meeting in Marrakesh with us. Yeah. And she's doing a lot of work with women in Liberia. So what we're trying to do is to offer a subsequent career to the leaders after they finish office. And they go and do something they love to do and now have the means to do it. That's the reason we do it. But I accept it is a debatable issue. And every time we have a retreat, because we have retreats every few years, people raise the issue to discuss, is it too much money, is it less money, it is this, it's that. We're going to have our next retreat in February, and I look forward to see what the board is going to decide next time. But I agree. The whole point of the prize actually is just to bring forward the unsung heroes of Africa. Because in the world outside here, I'm talking about London, Paris, New York, nobody knew Festus Mukai. Nobody. Nobody knew Cesano. Nobody knew Bereas. And all what you know is Bashir, Mobutu, Idi Amin, and everybody knows those guys. But nobody knows our good guys because they have not done anything outrageous. The media look for outrageous acts. That's a good TV. Yeah?
Negativity.
You are in the media, you know that.
Yeah.
And if you cook your opponents and eat them, oh, wow, what a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's Bukasa. You know? If you steal billions of this is the heist of the century.
Yeah.
Then everybody knows about Abasha. You know, everybody knows that. Everybody knows about Mobutu. Yeah, because of the amount of money he stole. That's it. So, but those decent leaders, for the West and for the media, they are boring guys. But they haven't done any stunts, anything interesting. And nobody knows about them. And I always test people when I go and speak at universities here or whatever. I ask, anybody knows Idi Amin? Everybody knows Idi Amin. You know Mobutu, Abasha? Yeah, everybody knows that. Anybody knows Festus Mokai? You look at Jaja, who is Festus Mokai?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to bring these people out to the light.
That is the whole aim of this particular podcast, Dr. Ibrahim, to unearth those positive stories so that they can be known, not only here across the continent, but globally as well. So you spoke about the retreat in February. I'm looking forward to that particular retreat in February to see what will be coming out of that particular event. But you have been a vocal critic of the current multilateral system, saying that it needs a total reboot. Dr. Ibrahim, this actually formed part of the recent report, Financing the Africa We Want. How does that reboot look like?
First, we need a better representation in these bodies. We have when they started these institutions after the Second World War, nobody thought about Africa. Actually, Africa's not there. And, then they did everything. We are not well represented. And I was amazed. I mean, like, how the World Bank or the IMF react to a problem in Greece when they had a meltdown? Immediately. How they reacted to problems in Ukraine? Immediately. Then you have Zambia had a major problem, right? And asking for bailout and help 2-3 years, no action. Sri Lanka, for 3 years, major problem and no action. Why? Because it has no champion as the boards of this institution. But if the problem is in Europe or somewhere, those guys just go and act immediately. So we don't have a voice in the room. That's and there's certain countries which hog these institutions. So it needs reform. And I also criticize. I mean, I had this conversation with Ajay. He's a wonderful man, actually. At the annual meeting almost 2 years ago, when I asked him why the board of the IMF or the board of the World Bank, the board members live in the building actually. They live permanently in the building. I said the only bank where the board actually live in the building. And do you go around and, I mean, who is running? They used to have a meeting every week for the board, which is ridiculous. No bank in the world or institution have a meeting every week. And I said, look, when I'm running a company
Yeah.
and I have a board meeting, I lose my key staff for 1 week at least before they meet, because people preparing all this report to the board. And so if you have a meeting every week, I mean, you guys have no other job to do. I mean, you just keep preparing papers for your board, etc. I understand that things change to better.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot of issues in how to improve the way they're looking at what's their priorities, how to do things. And I hope things are moving better because we have good management at the moment, and there is some awareness of what needs to be done. You take UN as one institution, about you have a Security Council with 5 guys holding red cards, which at the end you end up with a paralyzed system. Cannot take action, cannot do anything. You can see the genocide in Gaza. Is Security Council able to take any action? No. Even invasion of Ukraine, Security Council could not do anything because the aggressor there had a red card. So, as long as we have this system, we are killing multilateralism because we are rendering it impotent, useless. And that we see the demise of all these institutions. So it is a problem with we really need to pay attention to. But you see, the U.S. withdrew from World Trade Organization, World Health Organization. But who created these organizations? It was the U.S. Then the ICC, the International Criminal Court, who created this? It is the U.S. And now they're going to sanction the judges of these courts because they say, "Oh, why are you interfering with Israel or not?" Excuse me, these are courts, they are judges. Let them do your work. Oh, you sanction judges because you don't like what they rule. I mean, is that the rule of law? So, my friend, the whole architecture, global architecture around us is decaying now, is fracturing. And people looking at China now, is China was going to come now with a new world architecture? What that would look like, I don't know.
It sounds like you are agreeing with those who say that the Bretton Woods institutions are perpetuating poverty and inequalities here in the global south.
I think it's not intentional. It's not like they sit in a board meeting and say, "Let us go on." And take care of those guys and what. But it is because of lack of representation. Because of lack of representations. I don't know you. I don't know what is your problem. So how you expect me to deal with it? Yeah? But I know the problem of Greece because this is my neighbors. And I have the Greek guy sitting on the board. I mean, I know what's going on. But so it is the lack of representation, the absence of voice to really explain what is needed and how it needs to be. That sort of thing. But on the other hand, calling for, yes, we need more seats at the G8 or G20, actually. We need more seats in the Security Councils for Africa. That's all fine, and maybe we're getting there. But there is a question also for us Africans, who's going to sit on these seats? And what they represent actually? Well, so Africa is going to send somebody to represent us on G20. Who is the person representing Africa? They said, "Oh, this is the chairperson of the African Union."
Yeah.
Not just chair of the commission, it's the chairperson. But the chairperson of the African Union is actually there for only 1 year. And he is a elected president of a country already. Yeah? So, imagine you are the president of Egypt, and it's your turn now to be, because it is a term. Every year somebody comes from some region. I'll just give an example, president of Egypt or president of Kenya.
Yeah.
And you are, for 1 year now, the chair of the African Union, and you're going to G20. First, what is the Africa position on all these key issues? Is it articulated through your people in Egypt, or is it through your people in Africa? And which one you're going to represent? Because it's quite possible that the African general interest is different from your particular country interest. Which one you're going to represent? You are elected by your people here. How could you go against their interest? Because that is not the interest of Africa. How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
In fairness, you understand. I mean, you took South Africa. Cyril Ramaphosa was chair, actually, at some stage. Let's assume he's chair now and he wanted to present Africa in one of those meetings. Climate change. Now, South African position on climate and its carbonization, its decarbonization is different from the rest of Africa because you have different mix of power. Yeah, you have a lot of coal.
Yeah,
and you need to use a lot of coal for your power stations, and you have problem with power, and you have this, you have that. The average South African person puts out about 6-7 tons of carbon every year per head. The rest of Africa, there are some countries in Africa, it's 0.3. Okay? South Africa, in terms of carbon emission, is the same like the average European, actually. Like Europe. About 6-7 tons per head. That position is different from the rest of Africa, which only puts out 0.3, 0.5. Some countries put 1 ton, 2 tons.
Yeah.
So if you're going to talk carbon tax, is it the rest of Africa to have a carbon tax and a big global carbon tax because they make money? Because emission is so low. It's not in the rest of Europe or South Africa because they'll end up paying money because the emission is too high. Now, you are the president of South Africa, you're going to G20 meeting representing Africa. Which position are you going to take?
But how do we harmonize Africa's approach, especially going into COP30, Dr. Ibrahim?
This is the issues we need to organize. The African Union need to be sorted out.
Yeah.
To start with, it is not a union because it has no power, really. African countries did not delegate any powers to the African Union. African Union cannot cut a trade deal with anybody. It's left to 54 countries to have 54 trade delegations, and each one go and sit with China, with sit with America, with the European Union, trying to trade. Come on, guys. A country of 2 million people sit across the table of China trying to negotiate. Excuse me. You eat you alive. Because what we should have done is to delegate powers to the African Union, and we resource the African Union, then they can go and discuss trade or whatever. Is a different ball game. Anyway, that's another big issue.
Before we actually wrap the discussion, Dr. Ibrahim, you spoke about the G20 summit that will be held here in South Africa in November, a highly significant summit that will be laying some of those issues to bear. What do you think needs to be done to make sure that the G20 summit moves beyond symbolic gestures and lead to some concrete outcomes, Dr. Ibrahim, as we wrap up?
I think it's going to be a huge challenge.
Yeah.
A huge challenge to really for South Africa, because this is not a good time for multilateral actions. And what happens if US didn't come? Okay? What happens if some other people did not come? And what I really wish, I hope we end up have a good meeting with both of these discussions and good results, good outcomes, but I have my doubts because it's the wrong time for multilateralism. Unfortunately, a lot of people give up on multilateralism. So we'll see. Good luck.
Will you be coming to South Africa in November?
No, I don't come to these meetings. No, I'm a common man. I'm not head of the state. No.
Yeah.
But I wish you luck and thank you very much.
All right. Dr. Ibrahim, it has been such a pleasure having you here on Khumbza Afrika Amplified. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. That was Dr. Mo Ibrahim joining me exclusively here on Khumbza Afrika Amplified, reverberating across Africa and beyond. I hope you have enjoyed the conversation. If you like the conversation, make sure that you subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, it's goodbye for now. Cheers.